This episode is brought to you by Cologuard. Do you know what's really scary? Not screening for colon cancer when you turn 45. The Cologuard test is non-invasive, requires no special prep or time off work, and ships right to your door. In just 3 simple steps, Cologuard takes the scare out of colon cancer screening. If you're 45 or older and at average risk, ask your healthcare provider about the Cologuard test. Cologuard is available by prescription only. Learn more or request a prescription today at Cologuard.com/screen.
Listen, all you New Yorkers. Excuse me. Taxi. Okay, man, we're looking around.
This is the 77 WABC minicast.
Alrighty, Lionel with you. Our number is 800-848-9222. And then one of the one of the most frightening new observations that many people are suggesting is that we are apparently losing, ready for this, our species, intimacy. I know you're going to say, what? Intimacy. In a time of AI sex and Looksmaxing, a new book, a new theory calls on humans to rediscover what is believed to be its more natural urge. This is from The Atlantic, after a newspaper profile of the Looksmaxing influencer Braden Peters, otherwise known as Clavicular, you know who he is, right? Went viral last month. Many critics focused on how divorced his and others' nihilistic quest for beauty, they call it, by the way, sexual market value, how far away that was from any pursuit of women, relationships, or even sex. Do you think that we have lost, as a species, intimacy, romance, attraction, courting? Are we turning away from that which makes us human? Couldn't be more serious about this, my friend. Couldn't be more serious. When you talk to your children or anybody comes and asks you questions, what do we do? What do we say? How do we explain the necessity, the importance, the criticality of this thing called, what used to be called, intimacy? What behaviors do you see our species losing? What are we not able to handle anymore? I'm serious about this. I think if anybody has listened to me for a moment, I have a most pessimistic view of mankind. I think we are devolving, absolutely, positively devolving, and we have to keep ourselves aware of our limitations. I'm not a pessimist, really, I guess. I'm like a pathologist who reads bad lab reports every single day. Let me ask you a question. Do you remember when you first noticed or had a crush? Did you ever notice this thing called a crush? When you were a kid and you really weren't sure what it was you were feeling. Your parents didn't tell you. Not that you... I mean, I guess it was sexual, perhaps maybe theoretically in nature, but do you remember that? Do they have that even more? One time, I'll never forget, a woman asked my wife. This woman was in her 20s. She was in a wonderful trajectory. She was how do I say this? She was well on her way to enjoying whatever particular status she was, Ivy League and all that jazz. And she asked my wife, what is dating like? What does it mean to date? I'm being very serious now. Listen to what I'm saying. Do not let this go by. Do not fail to respond. When you were there and you felt that first urge, and it wasn't sexual per se, it wasn't crude, it was that first idea that maybe this other's gender, maybe there's something going on here. Remember that? When you were a kid, hormones kicked in. Hormones are still the most fascinating of all. Did you know, by the way, that vitamin D is most probably a hormone and not even a vitamin? which is, by the way, critical. I forgot the sunlight stuff, but I digress. Do you think kids today understand what it's like to be in love, to court? I'm dead serious here. And I don't know if we have, I would love, I think this might be perhaps misreading the demographic. I would hope not. Because after all, we have people watching the radio. What do you mean to provide pictures of UFOs on radio? But if there's anybody, God forbid, who's 20 years old, does your generation date anymore? Do you fall in love? Do you know what intimacy is versus sex versus just attraction? Is that even, I'm dead serious now. Because I think as the more that we lose ourselves, we lose the intellectual component that makes us special. It's critical that people understand that part of our maturation is the notion of courting, romance, intimacy, falling in love, having a crush on somebody. These are words, these are phrases. No, they're not going to use anymore. Now it's just hooking up with. And I sound like look, I'm not trying to poo-poo the notion of sex. That's not what I'm saying. But there's something weird here going on. And I'm afraid for younger people. And I'm going to say something that maybe I shouldn't. But I'm seeing more and more of a kind of a detached inability, not only to make eye contact, but to make human contact. What is going on? If you were a parent, do your children, do they ever, remember that song by, who was it, Puppy Love? I know Donny Osmond covered it, but do people even have that anymore? I think we're losing that aspect of our humanity.